high blood sugar rarely makes a dramatic entrance. It works quietly, gradually damaging nerves, organs, blood vessels, and metabolism while most people go about their daily lives unaware. This subtle, ongoing damage is what makes elevated blood sugar especially dangerous. Many assume high blood sugar only affects people with diabetes, but it can impact anyone. Even without a diagnosis, prolonged high glucose levels can disrupt energy, vision, circulation, skin health, and organ function. Recognizing early warning signs isn't about panic, it's about awareness. The body sends signals early, and noticing them can prevent long-term damage. Why high blood sugar causes more harm than most people realize. Glucose is not the enemy. It is a vital source of energy that fuels every cell in the body. Problems arise when glucose remains trapped in the bloodstream instead of entering cells where it can be used. This usually happens due to insufficient insulin, poor insulin response, or insulin resistance. When glucose builds up in the blood, it thickens the bloodstream, stresses blood vessels, and disrupts normal cellular function. Over time, this environment damages nerves, weakens circulation, strains the kidneys, impairs vision, and accelerates inflammation. The body attempts to compensate, but these compensations often create the very symptoms people dismiss as normal fatigue, stress, or aging. When hydration never feels enough. One of the earliest and most common signs of high blood sugar is unrelenting thirst. This isn't the type of thirst that disappears after a glass of water. It lingers. No matter how much you drink, your mouth feels dry, and the urge to hydrate returns quickly. This happens because excess glucose in the bloodstream forces the kidneys to work overtime. When they can no longer reabsorb all the sugar, they flush it out through urine. Water follows glucose, leading to increased fluid loss. As dehydration sets in, the brain signals thirst in an attempt to restore balance. Unfortunately, drinking more water alone does not fix the underlying issue. It simply becomes part of a repeating cycle. Increased hunger. It may seem counterintuitive, but high blood sugar can cause increased appetite rather than satiety. When glucose cannot enter cells efficiently, the body perceives an energy shortage despite abundant sugar circulating in the blood. The result is persistent hunger, frequent snacking, and cravings that feel difficult to control. This signal is the body's attempt to solve an internal energy crisis. Cells are starving, even while the bloodstream is overloaded. Without proper insulin function, food intake increases but energy production does not improve. Over time, this pattern contributes to weight gain, metabolic stress, and worsening insulin resistance. The kidney warning sign. Constant trips to the bathroom, especially during the night, are another hallmark of elevated blood sugar. This symptom is directly linked to excessive thirst and kidney overload. As the kidneys attempt to remove excess glucose, urine production increases dramatically. Frequent urination is often brushed off as drinking too much water or aging, but when paired with thirst, fatigue, or blurred vision, it deserves attention. Persistent urination is not just inconvenient, it signals that the kidneys are under strain, working beyond their intended capacity. Why high sugar can leave you exhausted. Many people associate sugar with energy, yet high blood sugar often causes deep, persistent fatigue. This exhaustion feels different from ordinary tiredness. Sleep does not fully restore energy, and even simple tasks can feel draining. The reason is simple. Energy production depends on glucose entering cells. When insulin function is impaired, cells remain underfueled despite abundant glucose in the blood. At the same time, dehydration, inflammation, and electrolyte imbalance further reduce physical stamina. The result is a body flooded with sugar but starved of usable energy. Blurred vision. Vision changes are one of the more alarming symptoms of high blood sugar. Elevated glucose alters fluid balance in the eyes, causing the lenses to swell. This changes how light is focused, leading to blurry or distorted vision. In many cases, this blurriness is temporary and improves once blood sugar stabilizes. However, repeated or prolonged episodes can damage retinal blood vessels over time, increasing the risk of permanent vision problems. Vision changes should never be ignored, even if they appear mild. Dry skin. Dry, itchy, or flaky skin can indicate that high blood sugar has been present for an extended period. Dehydration reduces moisture delivery to the skin, while nerve damage interferes with sweat gland function. Reduced circulation further limits nutrient and oxygen delivery to skin tissue. When this process continues for years, skin becomes increasingly vulnerable to cracking, infections, and slow wound healing. Dry skin is often dismissed as weather-related, but in the context of other symptoms, it can reflect deeper metabolic stress. Sexual dysfunction in men. Erectile dysfunction is a sensitive but significant warning sign of high blood sugar. Achieving and maintaining an erection requires healthy blood vessels, intact nerve signaling, and proper circulation. Elevated glucose damages all three. Over time, high blood sugar stiffens blood vessels and disrupts nerve function, making normal sexual response increasingly difficult. For many men, this symptom appears before more obvious complications and serves as an early indicator of vascular damage. Weight gain, when insulin resistance takes control. High blood sugar and weight gain often form a self-reinforcing cycle that becomes increasingly difficult to break. When cells grow resistant to insulin, glucose remains trapped in the bloodstream instead of being absorbed and used for energy. In response, the pancreas releases even more insulin in an attempt to force glucose into the cells. While this may temporarily lower blood sugar, it also signals the body to store excess energy as fat. Over time, this process creates a metabolic trap. Even when calorie intake is reduced or physical activity increases, weight loss becomes frustratingly slow or completely stalled. Fat tends to accumulate around the abdomen, an area closely linked to worsening insulin resistance and chronic inflammation. This central fat storage further disrupts hormonal balance, making blood sugar control even harder and increasing the risk of long-term metabolic disease. What causes blood sugar to rise in the first place? Diet is one of the most powerful drivers of elevated blood sugar. Highly processed foods, refined carbohydrates, and calorie-dense meals digest rapidly, flooding the bloodstream with glucose in a short period of time. These sharp spikes force the body to release large amounts of insulin repeatedly. Over time, cells adapt by becoming less responsive, laying the foundation for insulin resistance, while also contributing to inflammation and unfavorable cholesterol changes. Physical inactivity magnifies the problem. Muscles are one of the body's primary glucose-using tissues, and regular movement keeps them sensitive to insulin. When physical activity is minimal, muscle cells absorb less glucose, allowing blood sugar to remain elevated for longer periods. This reduced glucose clearance accelerates insulin resistance and weakens overall metabolic flexibility. Chronic stress is another often overlooked contributor. Stress hormones such as cortisol raise blood sugar to provide quick energy for perceived threats. When stress becomes constant, blood sugar remains elevated even without food intake. Over time, this hormonal imbalance quietly disrupts glucose regulation, compounding the effects of poor diet and inactivity. A critical reminder about symptoms and self-diagnosis. While these warning signs can strongly suggest elevated blood sugar, they are not exclusive to it. Symptoms such as fatigue, thirst, frequent urination, or dry skin can also appear with dehydration, infections, hormonal shifts, or other medical conditions. This is why self-diagnosis can be misleading and sometimes dangerous. Blood tests and professional medical evaluation remain the only reliable way to assess blood sugar levels and determine appropriate treatment or lifestyle adjustments. Recognizing patterns and clusters of symptoms is valuable, but confirmation and guidance must come from a healthcare professional. Early testing and intervention can prevent years of silent, progressive damage. Awareness is protection. High blood sugar does not demand attention, it waits for neglect. By the time severe complications appear, damage has often been building for years. The body gives warnings long before that point, but only if we learn to listen. Understanding these signs empowers you to take control early, adjust lifestyle habits, and seek medical guidance before irreversible harm occurs. Awareness is not fear, it is protection.